One thing that might be surprising about Battlefront 2 is just how different and diverse its game modes can feel. The intensity of action, tactical analysis required, ease of play, and atmosphere can vary wildly between these modes. This adds the ability to freshen up play from within the same game, and embodies how diverse the movies and TV shows in Star Wars are from each other. Even playing the same mode in different eras feels different, but not as dramatically as playing the different game modes. They can be the polar opposites of each other. Let's examine some game modes through 3 different lenses to highlight the diversity between them. These will be the feel of the action and intensity, the tactical nature of the mode, and the style of play. Ewok Hunt. Ewok Hunt doesn't have explosions everywhere, blasted bolts flying across the screen, and intense pictures of you and all your teammates emptying everything in your arsenal at the enemy or objective. Rather, it has a tone of a thriller horror where your senses are tuned up to the extreme so you can detect movement on both sides. One wrong move and it could all be game over. So the actions are very deliberate as the tension feels balanced on a knife's edge. Tactics is heavily relied upon in this mode. It's interesting because the dependence upon your teammates' tactics seems to switch as the match goes on. See, in the beginning of the match, if you're a stormtrooper, it's easier to rely on your teammates to make up some shortfalls on your part. One error probably won't hurt you as much if you have teammates to back you up. Whereas if you start as an Ewok, you only have one other player to help take down these troopers who are more powerful than you. You depend on the other Ewok to execute initial tactics perfectly, so you can take down an enemy using both your strengths combined. If they do not execute, you're gonna have a hell of a time trying to take down the troopers, and will have to rely on one of them not really paying attention. However, as soon as a few troopers fall, roles switch, and now it becomes the Ewoks with more numbers who can rely on each other, and the troopers with less that have to be more on guard. Ewok Hunt places you on a map that was initially designed for linear game modes, but gives you the freedom to move around as you wish. It feels free to explore, but does tend to guide you down certain paths, but avoiding those and counting on others to use them can give you an advantage. Teamwork is required in this mode. It ain't a mode you can be a full-on solo hero. If you want to win, you've got to work together. Strike. Strike's action is more constant action that ramps up the further along you get into completing or defending an objective. When the focus switches from 2 objectives to 1, or when the path to the delivery area becomes shorter than usual, more intense and more concentrated action takes place. It's more of a calculated intensity that is often helped by fast activation times and long overtime depletion. Players only tend to throw themselves at the objective during the last desperate moments in this mode, more than any other. However, this attitude can lead to the defending team being able to grab a chokehold early on in the game, most likely leading to frustration and a one-sided match. It doesn't even feel good to crack if your teammates don't follow you, because you will be overrun and the cycle will just continue. Strike definitely requires tactical thinking. Running and gunning in this mode will get you nowhere. In fact, not working towards the objective with your teammates will just induce frustration, as this mode can become rather one-sided. On the flip side, pulling off a perfect whiteboard maneuver is one of the most satisfying feelings in this game. Improvisation of tactics towards the end of some rounds can lead to truly magnificent plays, as this is a mode where last-minute clutches happens the most. It's the closest Battlefront has to a thinking man's mode. And jumping in there every once in a while can help you develop a deeper understanding of this game and its mechanics, which in turn can help you get better in the other modes. Teamwork is king in Strike. If you know what you're doing, some heroic individual moments can happen, but for the most part, well thought out teamwork where you all support each other is the key to victory. Strike is a small linear mode that takes place on smaller and more crowded areas of Galactic Assault maps. You'll become very familiar with the modes if you play the game mode a lot. This knowledge can help you use the various elements of the map to your advantage. Strike is also a great place to practice with reinforcements in a more tactical setting. Co-op. Co-op's action comes in large, intensive waves with breathing room in between. The neat thing about this is that because it takes place on large open maps, you can control the intensity of the action. The AI chases 2 things in co-op: you and the objectives. If your team is spread out, the intensity comes from having to take on many, but still manageable, enemies by yourself. However, if you're grouped together with your teammates, open capture points get flooded by AI, and challenging them becomes almost impossible, especially if you go there alone. Towards the end, there's usually one point, bringing the full intensity of high action waves your way. This is where the hero AI can cause the most panic, since they'll be accompanied by legions of infantry AI. Just remember, keep calm. You can deflect all their shots or perform perfect parries on them if you are wielding a lightsaber, or drain their health and or stamina quickly from a distance if you're a blaster hero. The need for tactics against AI will always be incredibly small. Well, at least for now. Who knows? Maybe in 20 years we won't be able to tell the difference between the AI we create and little Timmy down the street. Improvisation is the name of the game when it comes to co-op. There's no need to worry. The enemies don't really pose a threat, and there are some tactics that you will always fall back on for clearing a large amount of enemies, such as hopping in a tank or busting out a sentry. Shit really only goes down during the last phase, and even then, a switch to a tanky, defensive-oriented playstyle should see you through. After playing enough matches, you can learn the AI patterns, making making the mode easier every time you play. Overall, it is this game mode that feels the most free. While teamwork is required for the last phase of this mode, and you'll be cursing other players if they don't come together for that, the rest of the mode is just a fun place to fuck around. The maps are generally open and allow for a lot of open-ended gameplay, and the ability to experiment with how you can take on large amounts of AI is really freeing. The feeling is one of being very laid back and a good place to practice or grind with some of the reinforcements and heroes. Galactic Assault. Galactic Assault feels the most cinematic out of all the modes. It has a baseline level of actions in different areas of the map. The best part is you can earn battle points to experience this from totally different perspectives. Through the battle point system, you can find yourself dictating the pace of your action, either in a Starfighter, behind a sniper scope, flying through the air with your aerial jetpack, holding the line with an enforcer's powerful weapon, sneaking into the battle with the powerful abilities of an infiltrator, or rolling up in a tank, and so on. Like I mentioned, the amount of action is generally up to you, as the first phase lets you dictate whether you would like to engage high traffic areas or set off on flanking routes. The objectives are, however, good incentives to get involved at a baseline level of action and intensity. Engaging with the action and the objectives will help you gain those battle points faster, affording you more freedom to play the character you like. This keeps almost everyone involved and invested in the action. There is a calm in certain sections, and you can make your own calm when you need to. When you need the time to cool up and refocus. If you need this time, you can simply duck in and out of cover or pull a tactical retreat. Generally, the level of action is dictated by you. The most intense moments I've ever experienced in this game is in this mode, when myself and my teammates have launched into Hail Marys at the last second to try and win us the match, or even just sometimes an objective. There are scores of videos out there teaching anyone who would like to know the best tactics for GA. Cover different areas of the game mode, such as maps, heroes, flanking routes, loadouts, etc. Needless to say, the game mode can be very tactful, but also requires adaptability. However, it is possible to coast on your teammates' performance or have your team weigh you down. So getting into a squad for this mode is probably the way to go. This is definitely the mode for you to hone your skills as a hero and unleash your skills on opponents weaker than you, but who are still controlled by other players and decent in skill. The game mode is also dynamic between planets, so tactics will need to be cycled through and applied in the right circumstances. The nature of play is very linear and reliant on teamwork. Individual moments do tend to shine and can even sometimes lead your team to victory, but teamwork is definitely needed to facilitate these moments. A good team victory can win the game in no time flat, or even save the match and clutch victory from certain defeat. Supremacy. Just Supremacy. The general feel of action and intensity of this mode is dependent on two factors: what phase you're in and how you approach the match. During the ground phase, the intensity is up to you. Do you want to sit back and pick people off from a distance, jump straight into a hotly contested point, or simply roam around the battlefront? It's all up to you. And I will say, I know it's a bit controversial, but not many super intense moments happen or seem to take place in the ground phase. Well, nothing compared to GA or even Strike sometimes, but it can be more of a steady stream of action, and having a tug of war over certain points can really ramp up the action. The capital ship phase is more intense, as you pack a bunch of battle-hardened units that were just playing in effectively an open field into smaller open fields and narrow packed corridor. The effects of your abilities and blastifies are felt more here, and the close proximity, comparatively, increases the feeling of action. This, along with your focus narrowing on just one or two objectives in a linear path from previously being focusing on non-linear points, really help to shift perspective. The tactical nature of Supremacy changes between the two different phases, as well as which side you find yourself on, either during or after the capital ship phase. However, for this ship phase, what I said for the GA tactics rings true here as well, however, with more similarity to the last phases of GA and more frustration due to spawn positions and constant balancing changes DICE have implemented. On the ground, however, tactics are king. Now, you can try the same tactic over and over and over again until you find success, but it's much more rewarding and effective to develop advanced tactics for taking and maintaining points, as well as adapting for your enemy's tactics. The enemy will most likely definitely adapt to your tactics as well, leading to the most enjoyable aspect of this game mode. You can either engage them head on or pursue another objective elsewhere on the map. Thus, the tactical choice is up to you, and tactical masters can dominate this game mode. However, really lucky players can also perform really well, as there's enough space, time, and objectives to keep all players busy, and thus good tactics alone will not be enough to secure a victory. The nature of play is generally open, teamwork reliant, but individually focused. and can run for very long periods of time. As I said, the focus switches from open to less open to linear and then back to open again. This allows for longer games, more individual and squad freedom, and a ton more room for experimentation. For example, more people are likely to end up in heroes in a Supremacy match because heroes are more easily available. This is because they are less protected. The out of bounds areas for the enemies are way less than in GA. The heroes may be unable to take advantage of team momentum the same they would be in GA, and are likely to have their teammates who could cover them more thinly spread out in this mode. Thus, heroes tend to die faster and become available to more people and in more longer game modes. Thus, more people are generally likely to be able to play the heroes. The longer game mode time also allows more people to pick reinforcements more of the time and practice with them. Thus, experimentation really does happen more often in this game mode. Heroes versus villains. The general feeling of this game mode is one of control. It seems that either your team is controlling the match or you've lost total control. Matches in between this paradigm are not as rare as I'm possibly making them seem, but the frustration of steamrolling or getting steamrolled is probably what you're going to remember this mode for. Now, the amount of action is a random element, as it all depends on what heroes are chosen, how they're chosen, and the clashes that actually end up ensuing. Many aspects of this mode are all up to the players, and Battlefront doesn't seem to easily attract players that pick up distinguishable playstyles. You never know what you're gonna get. Although there are a few strategies that seem prevalent, but don't get too excited. They're all cowardice. Picking broken heroes, please nerf Anakin more, camping behind a turret, staying in the sky, or most common of just not engaging anyone anymore and running away. These are sites that are sure to stay with you if you play this game mode for a long period of time. It's not all bad. When you get into a balanced team, so real good times can be had, the best tactics seem to emerge. Worthy opponents are fun to duel, and some legendary plays are conceived and executed. Also, this mode relies on precision, and if you live in a country in the continent of Africa, you're fucked because DICE forgot we existed and they removed the South African servers. I mean, after they removed the South African servers. I swear, each update has exacerbated this problem. So I wouldn't count on landing any perfectly timed attacks or counters, and being shot behind cover is a regular occurrence. I complain about HPV the most because I play it the most. Although how you are actually supposed to play the match isn't really in my reach, I still enjoy making the best out of what I have, and sometimes the random element of a ping spike might work in my favor. Starfighter Assault is obviously different from the rest of the game. It was made by a different studio, and again, obviously starfighting is much different than the action that happens down on the ground. The only similar thing is the feeling of phases with objectives being lifted in a GA style, but the skies are always open and the tactics are limited by the nature of dogfighting in general. Obviously, it feels different from the main game, and I think that's why the non-Battlefront community was excited for it at launch. From these modes, you can see the diverse experience Battlefront provides, but it is not just from these modes that the game stays fresh. New updates every month and constant content updates adds more differential to the game. Even more diversity is added by the community events, which are modifications on a rule set across different modes. These events can change the entire nature of a mode for a weekend or so. One problem with the diversity is that the different star cards available to your units work better across different modes. I'm glad to see in the latest survey this, which suggests DICE have been listening and are aware of this, but just to reiterate, please add presets. The game launched with tremendous amount of diverse content and has only got more diverse from there on. We can see it with the new classes and unique heroes, and it truly helps make the Battlefront diverse.